Another happy day here in the Seava world, and I note that our Navy man is holidaying somewhere in the islands, seafront property.
Beautiful view.
Hula girls in the background. Oh, God, life is so wonderful.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for those of us in Canterbury, it's another beautiful day, and hopefully the fire services have managed to get everything under control out
Yeah.
the hills, and I think there was one up in Waikari, another fire there. So if you're in the area, be aware, fires happen. But
They
anyway,
do.
that's the boring stuff. Welcome, Frank. And apart from
Good to
the
be back after a couple of weeks' absence, but unfortunately I couldn't help that. But never mind, we're here.
and apart from the beautiful sea vista that you have, how's life and the weather up there in your place?
It's pretty miserable today. In fact, there was a bit of rain just a while ago, and very overcast. And I would say, looking towards Parongia, there it's going to be rain sometime today.
Well, look, if you've got a few drops to spare, send it south.
Yeah. Oh, we need it. That's for real.
Yeah. I think we had about somewhere between 3 and 5 mils on Monday night, so dampened the ground a little bit, but she's still pretty dry.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's kick into the real stuff. Do you have anything, Frank, you want to throw on the table to kick off with?
Not really, apart from the health and safety that we've been going through, and the what would you call it, minefields that are put forward through court cases. I dare say we'll be carrying on reading that and digesting it to see how we go about protecting ourselves from the Health and Safety Act. But that's about all I've got at the moment, Dennis.
Yeah. So it's the executives working through this process. We have I think this is about 3 meetings that we've had to discuss the purchase of liability insurance for the executive, to not so much to guard against the Health and Safety Act, but just to make sure that those who come on board as part of the executive are protected from any potential liabilities with the law. And certainly there are, I would suspect, amongst the incorporated societies, charitable services, and the Companies Act, people just waiting to have a prosecution to test the law and the legislation. And we, as an executive, once upon a time, it was just the officers, which were the president, vice president, treasurer of the association, were the ones that carried the liability. Now it's the whole executive, and we've got to make sure that we have insurance to cover them so that their personal assets aren't at risk. So that's where we're working through at the moment. It's not an easy process, and we're getting lots of different opinions from different people to help us navigate the waters ahead. So there you go. Thanks for that, Frank. Good point to raise. What else have we got? I'll just check my magic list of things. Oh, okay. So here we go. So invoices were sent out, I think, in January, and thanks to those of you who've paid. Most of you are now up to date, and there'll be other invoices coming out later in the year, I think closer to June, because that's the end of our financial year, end of June. And if you're paid up then, you'll be eligible to vote at the AGM, which is in July sometime. Good. Okay.
It's pretty important that you do get your membership in. Believe it or not, we do have costs trying to move our progress forward for the extending the Operational Service Medal, Burial Act, and other things like that. Operational service. Unfortunately, it doesn't come for free, the bits and pieces. So we do need you to send us your $20. I think it's $20. And get all your mates to join as well. The more help we get, the better. And of course, you're going to benefit from it in the end, especially if we can get you all a nice veterans pension.
Oh, how wonderful. I look forward to that. And it's a pretty hot topic amongst a lot of ex-service people, the inconsistencies that are apparent. Some people have been given the NZOSM, like the people who served in Singapore up till January 74, end of January 74, but no entitlement to access to the Veterans Affairs compensation unless you have acquired qualifying operational service at another deployment later in your service. And then there are others who've been given qualifying operational service, no MEDALIC recognition, and then there's a whole bunch of variations in between those two extremes. So yeah, there's a lack of consistency it's a minefield that needs to be resolved. So we're working on it. Watch this space, because as Frank has pointed out, there are other things that flow from qualifying operational service. That is the right to be buried in a services plot, which is one of those. And not only are we working on it, but also in Australia, the Butterworth Group, they're having a crack at their own government. They're winding themselves up to challenge them in the courts, which is a good thing to do. At least we'll get some kind of definitive decision out of them. So that's where we're at.
Exactly. And the one thing I mentioned there was the veterans pension. You've got that for life, not like the superannuation. You go to hospital for, I think it's 13 weeks. You then lose your super. You don't lose your veterans pension. That carries on right through. So come on, let's get a bit of support in there.
Well done, Frank. That's a good point to note. And does that also apply for retirement villages and things like that, or is that a different kettle of fish?
Yeah, no, they've got a few different rules and regulations. The government or the retirement village. I think the pension is pretty protected, but I wouldn't be too sure in a retirement village.
Yeah, but then again, I guess the costs at a retirement village pretty high. So what you get from the pension disappears pretty quickly.
A friend of mine who is now in a retirement village, unfortunately, dementia. His costs are nearly $2,000 a week.
Whoa!
So there you go.
That's way more than the pension.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. There's a little bit of news. So there's a if you're living in the Manawatu area, there's a get together there, Siava get together. Ken McRae, I think, is the man organising that. 14th of April at the Sanson Club. I think he has put a post on the Facebook page, so you might have to go back and have a gander. Open to all services and not just specifically Siava people. Like if you've served anywhere, anytime, pop along, join the crew. I think it's a shared lunch, and he has other activities organised. So there you go. Book that one in and front up. This Friday, which is the 23rd, at 10 o'clock, is coffee day at Wigram. So if you're free and your wife hasn't got you doing the chores around home and you'd feel like a coffee and meet some of your comrades, again, all services are welcome. Pop on down, have a chat, catch up, and also I think there are support people available. So through the RSA network, or just people who are fronting up who have a bit of experience in that area. So if you do have an issue, don't be frightened to ask someone like Joe Cox. He'll point you in the right direction as to who to speak to. Also on the 23rd, we've got the AGM for the Vietnam Veterans and their Families Trust out at the Rangiora RSA. That kicks off at 10:30. Oh, list of nothing but things to do. And if you're in the Lower Hutt area or the Greater Wellington area, 2nd of March, Saturday the 2nd of March, between 10 and 2 at the Lower Hutt Event Centre, 30C Langs Road. There's a forum there run by Veterans Affairs. So again, you can make yourself available, catch up with old friends, have a coffee, have a nat or two vans, and I think they have a lot of other ancillary services and organisations there as well. So make yourself available, pop on down, see what's going on. I also note too that the both Army and the Navy magazines, I noticed, are out now. I don't know whether the Air Force one's popped out, but the other two are. So get online, have a read, see what's happening to those who are currently serving. And interesting to note in the week that I think it was towards the end of last week, or it might have been over the weekend, that the mandate that was put in place for people during COVID, so serving people, you had to be inoculated, yada, 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 took away some of your human rights, and that has been declared unlawful. So that's an interesting little bit of information that's kind of flown under the radar and people have missed. So be aware of that if you were serving. It's interesting that actually people are standing up for your human rights, although the military is quite good at removing them. And I think the last one is here's a bit of a contention for you, Frank. The article in Stuff on Saturday about the generals of the RSA shooting the troops. That's generated a fair bit of correspondence internally amongst the RSA movement. And I think there's a bit of conflict about where the future lies with the RSA and where it always has. And I think there are differing views as to whether people want to stay with the past. And we have to say we've lost a lot of RSAs throughout the country. And when we lose an RSA, we also kind of lose the money that has been accumulated by generations of former servicemen and women when it goes into liquidation. So that's something to keep your eyes on as the future goes. People like ourselves, the affiliates, I was having a chat to the CEO just yesterday about that the affiliate groups are actually the core purpose of the RSA movement. So they don't have a premise, they don't run hospitality. Their sole purpose is to advocate for and to support those who served, whether that's the Army, Navy, Air Force affiliates or the artillery or ourselves. And there's quite a few affiliates, 20 or maybe 30, that belong to are affiliated to the RSA. And that's the core purpose. The Onward Bar is another one, I think. So there you go. That's a little bit of news. And
it was interesting reading.
Yes. What are your thoughts on that, Frank? Where do you see?
Well, I believe our number one role, and I'm still with the RSA, local RSA, but we've only got about 15 or 20 members, so it's not very active. The role is definitely to look after the veteran. That to me is our number one role. And then our number two role, of course, is to generate the income to look after these veterans through poppy days, through whether you have a bar in your RSA. But my main thoughts or ideas of the RSA these days is to look after the veterans coming through, because there's a hell of a lot of them out of there that never ask for help. And it's important that we can get to them. And I think the RSA is one of the ways we can do it.
Okay. Yep. And I think that all credit to those RSAs that run successful operations.
Yeah.
If you can manage the hospitality well and the facilities are looked after, the buildings going, and the end of the year you're still in the black, no qualms. I don't think anybody's got any negative comments to make about that.
No.
It's those that are on the fringes, and you become aware that there are quite a few who are struggling to make ends meet.
Yep.
There's a couple that I'm aware of here in the south that are a bit marginal at the moment, and I think the key for the RSAs, if they are struggling, is to shout out quite early. Don't leave it until late. So as the president of the Christchurch RSA, the pleas for help came a little bit late, and yeah, it just we couldn't save the building. Building had to be sold, and consequently, quite a bit of veterans' funds disappeared. There you go. Think about it, have a chat, or really just if you're keen, pop along to your local RSA, offer them your support, have a chat to them. Who knows what you might find out? Who knows what they may be able to assist you with if you've got health issues or issues with Veterans Affairs. There you go.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
So, Frank, crossing the bar.
Yes, I've got what have I got here? About 5 or 6 of our Matlow mates that have all crossed the bar. Those that's funerals have gone, and most of them are. I will just go through and let you know who they are. We have T23063 Tut Charles John, commonly known as Puff, Chief Petty Officer, Royal New Zealand Navy, and a Marine mechanician. Crossed the bar on the 3rd of February 2024. Then we have NZ13481 McMillan Ronald, able seaman, Korean veteran, served on HMNZS Hawea in Korea. Crossed the bar January the 29th, 2024, aged 91 years. Then we have Paul Kissel. Now, I'm not too sure. I think he comes from down your way. Paul Jeffrey Kissel, Petty Officer, Royal New Zealand Volunteer Reserve, was also a Senior Constable in the New Zealand Police. Crossed the bar on February the 2nd, 2024. A service has been held. Sorry, I've got that wrong. Service has been held, yes. Then we have NZ16947, Miller Alan Bruce, an able seaman. RNZN joined 1961, crossed the bar 15th of February 2024, age 79. And his funeral is on the 22nd, which is tomorrow, at 42 Edinburgh Crescent in Invercargill. And then we have, who I got this one last night, a good friend of mine, L19284, Lowish, Peter Charles, known as Penny, Petty Officer Radioman, same branch as me, served with me, crossed the bar yesterday, 20th of February 2024. Peter had many ships he served on, and funeral arrangements at this stage are unknown. And I have one other veteran, a Korean veteran, who I just had notice about, but there's no details yet. Charlie Brown, he was a Korean veteran, served in Korea. And I'll have more details on Charlie next time. So condolences to all the families in whānau, and may they rest in peace.
Thanks, Frank. So only a couple from the green uniforms today. Private Anthony Frost, 2nd Battalion NZ Regiment, served with Delta Company in Malaya, 1959 to 1961. And 43210, Private Richard Francis, known as Dick Smith, 1RNZIR, Whiskey 2 Company, South Vietnam, 68 to 69. So our condolences to those families. And we don't have anything today from the RNZAF. But if you're aware of someone who has passed, don't be afraid to let us know. Put a post up somewhere, and we'll get it broadcast next Wednesday. So let's do the ode. Do you want to lead with the ode, Frank?
Yeah, just before I do the ode, could I just mention that the RNZN Communicators Association have their reunion coming up in October, 18th, 19th of October, 20th. So if you're interested, all you communicators, sparkers, buntings, gollywogs, gollies are electronic warfare. We call them gollies. Contact myself. I'm easy to find on Facebook. It's going to be a good do. It'll be in New Plymouth. So we need to get a few more people there. So just contact me and I'll give you all the details. Okay. They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. The going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them, lest we forget.
Thank you, Frank. And as usual, for the families or friends who are associated with those who passed, if you need some support and assistance, pop into your local RSA, speak to one of the support people, or just make contact with anybody on the CIAVA executive, and we'll see what we can do to help you. Just a couple of other points. So RSA related, the RSA Annual National Council Part 2 is being held this coming Saturday in Wellington. And I would suggest that if you're interested in the future of the RSA, pop along, because it's most of the workshops are around the Constitution and the reframing of the Constitution for the future to make sure that it's relevant to the current direction and strategic focus of the RSA. And I think on Thursday in Wellington, Vans are having a seminar on Te Arataki. It's the has to do with the mental health and well-being and the policy framework that spreads out to other government branches. So that's happening on Thursday in Wellington. Well, there you go. I think that's us for the day. Thank you, Frank, for your time. Thank you for your insight, and hopefully for everyone else, enjoy the remainder of your week, and we'll catch you same place next Wednesday. How's
Excellent.
that?
Right.
Just turn off the recording. See you later, folks.